Now, I wasn't going to make another video on this, but it seems everyone liked my first video on this piano in Minecraft, and I do have something new to show you. So, here I've got one of the pianos, and what I'm going to be showing you today is how to import NBS songs, and if you don't know what that is, I'll explain it later, and also MIDI data into this piano. I'll get into that later, but actually right now I have some of that already set up, so I've got 3 songs here. The first one is Megalovania. Some of you might know it, but if you don't, that's fine. So if I do this, you can see I got a bunch of channels now, and if I play this song, yeah, it plays the song. There's more to it, but I'm not going to play it all right now. I'll do that probably closer to the end of the video. Well, okay, so how this works is I didn't actually record that with the normal recording thing and then playing the notes manually by right-clicking them. That was actually imported from an NBS file, which again I'll get into later. But imported as in I generated a command that would set the piano's data to have this song recorded, like it thinks this song's been recorded, even though I never really did that here. So I did that, and then it filled all these channels, as you can see, and they work. Like, it's the song. I can even mute them, so I can like mute some of them. Now it's only this one's playing. Oh, that sounds a bit different. Now, yeah, anyway. So yeah, you can mute different, you can still mute them and everything. It still works in the exact same way. I mean, like, the data pack itself is exactly the same. There's not like a new version or anything. So you don't even have to like download a new version of the data pack or anything. It's exactly the same. It's just I've added something that allows you to import songs into these pianos. Yeah, that's one of them. There is, again, more of the song. I think I'll play those probably at the end of the video. But speaking of this song, Megalovania, there's actually a couple people in my comments mentioned that, well, there was just a random time when I was, well, actually it was probably something like this. I was playing through just a bunch of random notes and everything, and at one point I think I played this. And to me, that just, I don't know, that doesn't really sound like anything to me. That just sounds like random notes as I was playing, and it was. That's all I was trying to do. I was just playing random notes, but I didn't realize that you might notice if I play these. Did you catch that? Those last 4 notes were... So yeah, so yeah, I guess I kind of accidentally played part of the song, 4 notes, but yeah, I didn't even notice I did that. Anyway, I've got more. So that was Megalovania from Undertale. This is a song from Mario Sunshine, so I can play it. And yeah, there's kind of full versions, and then there's, of course, the Rick roll. Now, you might notice it's kind of fast, actually. Okay, I don't know how well you can hear me, but you might have noticed it's kind of fast. And that's true for Megalovania as well. So I think it's actually supposed to be quite a bit slower. I don't know about the casino one. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I think that's pretty close. But anyway, that's kind of because you can choose to keep the tempo right, but it might not. It doesn't quite sound right. Like the tempo is a little bit off all the time, so it's weird. But yeah, I mean, you could make it try to stay correct tempo, or you can actually tick rate, set it to the tempo you want, and then this is more accurate to the actual song. But of course, well, that, I mean, you know, that changes the tick rate of your entire game. Now my whole game is running slightly slow. So, I mean, yeah, that's not really what you, I don't know, would probably want. So, if you really want it to be the actual tempo of the song, there will be an option to do that, but I didn't do that because I don't really like the way it sounds. So, you know, you can just have it play a bit fast. And yeah, there's quite a lot. I think I'll play through the whole songs at the end of the video if you want to hear them full, but I don't want to just spend like, I don't know, 10 minutes of the video, how much song I have right away, right at the start of the video. But also, that brings me on to my next point. If you have long songs like this, you probably wouldn't notice this normally when recording manually, because, I mean, you could, but if you recorded really long songs and you had so many channels and multiple tracks, it could get laggy. It's kind of hard to get to that normally because you have to play each note manually, but this is a lot more easy to have it happen because you can import entire songs, which can be a lot of notes, like could be like 4,000 notes, which is actually kind of the limit. Well, not really, but kind of is. Technically, there's not a limit manually recording. Well, there kind of is, but not really. There's not a limit to how many notes you can record when you actually record with the piano, but there is in a way, because it kind of becomes laggy. Right now, even without playing it, it's about here on the red is the how long it's taking, and then the top of this graph is like how long it can take, I guess. And if it goes beyond that, it starts actually lagging. And if I hit play, you notice it gets significantly laggier. So yeah, with just that, which is probably about as many notes as you could handle, it's really laggy already. And if you go to like another one, this one's pretty small. It's not too laggy. Yeah, you can see that the playing that one is just slightly laggier than the not playing the other ones. And then this one is also pretty laggy, but not technically as bad as the Rickroll one. So yeah, there's all that to keep in mind about just getting laggy. And you might have wondered why I have these separate buttons when I can probably use multiple tracks, right? Like that's what it's for. But again, same reason. It actually gets really laggy. Even on the tracks you're not playing, just having that stored is for some reason extra laggy. So if I do this one, it gets laggy. It's the Rickroll one, which is the laggiest. But if I even switch to another one and start recording, it is pretty laggy still, even though this track is empty, because it kind of is, you know, it still has the rest of them. It's kind of weird, but the point is, if you were to put all of 3 tracks from all 3 songs on here, which you can do, I guess, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, but yeah, with songs like these, it will get really laggy. It will add up all the lags. It's like the sum of all of them. Like the sum of all 3 of these would be how laggy it ends up. So you wouldn't want that because it can't really handle being 3 times as laggy right now. So yeah, you couldn't really, I mean, you could do it, but it would just be too laggy, and then playing it would make it even worse. So you can't quite do that. But yeah, if you've got small songs that you still import, you can use multiple tracks if you want. But anyway, let me show you, I guess, how I actually did this and how you can do it for yourself. So what this is the Minecraft Note Block Studio. It's a program that lets you make note block songs. So you can put notes in and everything. Yeah, you could like make a song if you wanted. You can record key presses and you're like, yeah. So yeah, anyway, you can record songs like this. What I would recommend you do is, unless you don't want to, probably set your tempo to 20 ticks per second. If you're like making a song from scratch on this just to import, I would recommend setting it to either 10 or 20, maybe 5 if you wanted. You could go slow, but I wouldn't recommend anything in between those unless you really want to. Because yeah, if you do that, it might get a little bit off time, and also, or it would just kind of be 20 or 10 or whatever it would pick, kind of thing. It depends on what you want to do later, but I don't know. You can decide what you want. If you really want it to be exactly the tempo you want, then I guess you can do that if you want, but I'm just going to stick to like 20. Anyway, so you can, I guess I'll like make a simple song. So anyway, I've got notes. I can put, one thing to keep in mind is the chime instrument actually won't transfer correctly. It'll work, I guess, but it'll become bell because it'll become this. Because my piano actually doesn't have a chime one. It has all the others. It just doesn't have chime. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It doesn't have the chime one because I just didn't add it in. So yeah, I mean, you can put it in your song, I guess. It'll just convert it to bell like this. It'll pretty much do that. I mean, you won't see it in this, but when you convert it into my piano track, then it will. But I'm not really going to be using that actually. So yeah, you can do whatever you want. I can put like a bass in there. Like, I have no idea if that sounds good, but actually I'm going to make it a little bit further apart. So yeah. I don't know if that sounds good, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like this is a professional song or anything. So I can just add some drums. Okay, so there are a couple other things to keep in mind whenever you're doing this. And by the way, you can of course, take, if you have existing NBS songs, you can just use those. But there are a few important things you need to keep in mind. The first one is that it will only use the first 16 layers, and layer 17 and below will just be ignored. Any notes there will just not be included and they'll be ignored. So even if you have empty layers, it will just keep those empty, and then you might just miss later ones. So if you have a song, you might want to make sure there's no empty layers, and make sure there's no, I mean, there can be, but if it uses layers past layer 16, then you might want to get rid of empty layers if you have any, or yeah, just try to move notes around. The piano only has 16 channels, so it only looks at the first 16 layers, and then that's it. The next limitation is that you need to make sure that you don't have multiple instruments on the same layer. So say like this layer has all harp, this layer has all harp, this layer has all bass, and then these actually have, but they're percussion, but they're still both all drums. So yeah, all of them are still drums. So that's kind of okay. But if I were to like get a guitar, this note, and then, well, actually that'd be all I do. Yeah, so I can try to make something like this. So yeah, you might think like, oh yeah, do that, and it's fine. However, that's not going to work really. It's kind of just a limitation because of the way the instrument sets work in the piano. But you need to make sure that like this one here is, in this case, it's a drums, and there are kind of exceptions, like any on the same instrument set will work. So all drums will work, and then others might work, but the drums are kind of the only ones are kind of the ones that you might really, you'd probably want to know that it's okay to put them on the same layer, even though they're different percussion. All three of the percussion instruments will work, even on the same layer. But the problem with these are the guitars here. So these guitar instruments, they'll actually just be drums because it's already drums from this first note. If I were to change that to a guitar, now the whole thing will be guitars and stuff, so then it wouldn't sound right. With all the drums, wouldn't sound like drums, they would then sound like guitars and stuff. So you have to be careful of that. Just make sure that generally you don't have more than one instrument on the same layer. But of course, if you have a percussion layer, then you can use all three kinds of percussion on that layer, and that'll be fine. But of course, like with these guitars, they won't be good. So you can move them down to another layer, and of course, and then this will work. It does sound the same. It's not like it's going to tell you in the program or anything, because I didn't make this program, so it's not like it knows what my piano can do. Another limitation is that you need to keep the notes in the octave range. So if I put like a note here, but it's too high, like A5, that's too high. Actually, there, I changed the setting, so now you can see the red keys. Those are all the ones that are outside of the range. So I think it's actually like this by default, so you will be able to, if you get the program, you'll see this. So anyway, these notes are fine. Well, actually, mostly I'll get into that in a bit, but then all the red ones will, well, they'll try to work. It's sometimes like there's exceptions where they can work, but not really. They will probably just turn into other instruments, or they might not be included at all. So you have to be careful about that. So generally, just make sure you don't have any notes outside of the octave range, which you'll be able to tell in the program. It's usually pretty obvious. There's even a whole menu and everything. It'll tell you like select lower blocks. You could select higher blocks or transpose notes. So I did that, and then it'll automatically move them an octave to be correct and work. So that helps. However, there's also kind of one other small problem, which you might never notice, but you might. So certain instruments and certain notes on the F#3 and F#5, the first and last notes, like some bass notes like this and bits or some other thing, I think bells as well, on F#3 will turn into other instruments. Well, you don't really need to be careful of that. It's probably okay if it does happen, because it would only be those notes that are at the very end of the octave range. And not all of them do it. Not all the instruments do that. Some are fine. Pretty much the last limitation is well, we have volume, layer volume, layer panning, note panning, and note velocity will not work at all. Like, they won't be included at all in any way. They'll just like be default. So if you pan the notes, technically panning works. Well, it doesn't work. It's different from how it is in the program. So in this program, you can set each layer or even each note to have its own panning. But in my piano, it just, well, the notes will play at the note. So higher notes on the keyboard would play to the right, and lower notes would play to the left. And you can't really change that at all. So you can't really customize the panning. The velocity or the volume won't do anything. It'll just be at max volume because my notes don't have that ability in my piano. And then note pitch will not work very well. It tries to work, but there's no fine tuning in my piano, so that's not really going to work. However, if you do modify it by like more than 50 cents, it will kind of round to the nearest note. So if you do it enough, you'll kind of notice the pitch bending work. But you have to, it's not very good, you know, it just kind of tries its best to get as close as it can, but it can't really do like fine tuning or anything like that. That also could have issues if you go too far away from normal, then it like is out of the octave range and then it won't play the notes right. And then last thing, of course, is the tempo, which I kind of went over before. I'd recommend just sticking to 20 or 10 or maybe like 5 or something, I don't know. If you want to, you can do something in between or kind of anything. You can have it choose to try to kind of get it to work correctly, but then it might not be in time correctly, or you can just have it kind of pick one. It might not be the right tempo, but it will sound in time and everything. So yeah, you can choose that later, but yeah, I'll get into that later. So that's all the limitations you need to worry about. Yeah, I guess I could import this and see how it sounds. So yeah, you can go File, Save Song. Well, if you haven't saved it, you can just save song. This is where I'll show you how to actually import it into Minecraft. So this is, well, multiple things. So we have NBS songs. I just saved this one. This is the one that I just saved. I just called it song. I don't know. There's, of course, the Rickroll, Megalovania, Casino, and then exports, TXTs. And then there's also this. So this is my Python file. So this, I'll have a download for it into the description where you can download this Python file. Of course, you will need Python. So yeah, you need to install that if you don't have it, if you want to use this. It doesn't really use anything that you have to install, so, well, other than Python itself, but it doesn't like use any packages you need to install or anything like that. So as long as you have Python and it can run and do everything it normally does, then it should work. Make sure you're using NBS version 5, which is the newest version. So if you're using the latest version of the OpenNBS software, then it'll automatically save with the newest version, so you don't have to worry about that as long as you've saved it with the newest OpenNBS version. So yeah, anyway, I guess I will run it, of course, to see what happens. So the first thing you get when you run it is it'll ask you for the NBS file name, so without extension. So it's called song.nbs, and then there's the other NBSs. Those are just the actual NoteBlock songs that you can open in the program. That's just the file format. So this is the song I just saved, and if I open it, it's this song, yeah. So yeah, it asks you for the NBS file name. You could do any of the, so it's gonna try to find one in the same folder, so you could probably just make a new folder or something. It'll look for files in the same folder that the Python file is in. So yeah, I could just type song and then it will load it, and then it will say use analog tempo. This means, this is the thing I was saying, like you could choose the tempo. So if you hit yes, actually it won't change anything here because it was already 20, which is perfect. So yeah, you could hit yes or no. The analog means like it won't be perfectly in time, but it will try to kind of make it the right tempo, even though it wouldn't sound perfect. But if you don't say yes, it'll just kind of pick one. But it's already 20, so it wouldn't matter. I'm just going to hit no anyway. Then set track number. So this is the track number you want to change in the game. So all mine were track 1. I'm just going to say 1. Of course, it's like, I don't know, I'd put 234, so obviously there's only 16 tracks, so it doesn't like that, but try again. So I'll just do number 1. And there we go, successfully saved to export song.txt. Press enter to quit. That's what it did. I don't know why you would, if you already had a file called export underscore and then the NBS song name without the extension .txt. In this case, export song.txt or export underscore song.txt. It would overwrite it, but I don't know why you would have that file. I don't know, unless you already exported it. But then you just kind of overwrite the previous one. But yeah, it will overwrite a file if it already exists. So you might want to be careful of that. But I don't know why you'd have that file or a file like that. Anyway, if we go into it, it's just text. So yeah, you can copy the text. That's what you're supposed to do, and then close it or whatever you want to do. And then in Minecraft, you have to be in creative mode. So yeah, this isn't like something you can do in survival because you need a command. You might be able to type it. Nope, you can't. Anyway, you might be able, if it was really tiny, you might be able to type it in chat. But anyway, what you do is put down a command block and then paste the command in. It will probably be pretty long. This one isn't too long because I didn't have that many notes, but like if you have like 4,000 notes, then it will definitely be really long. I have some files that are like 27 kilobytes and the command is over 26,000 characters long, so they can get pretty long if you have enough notes. So you be careful of that, but we don't have to worry about that because this is a pretty small song. So you just paste the command in. You don't have to do anything. I was like looking around in it, but you don't have to do that at all. I'll show you. I can just put down a new command block, paste it in, enter. That's all you have to do. So yeah, all you have to do is that, and then just, you don't have to break it or anything. I just want to. I just want to start a new piano. You don't have to do that. But anyway, yeah, I just want to make a new piano. So if you run the command, it will replace it will, well, yeah, it'll replace the first track, I guess, or whatever track you set, but I set track 1, so that's the one it'll be. But it will set that track to be your song, and it'll do that to the nearest piano within 10 blocks of the command block or whatever runs it. So if I press the button, you'll notice that nothing happened. It looks like no channels are filled, but that's actually because it hasn't updated. But if you right-click the track that you told it to put the song into, then it will update. If you just right-click it, then it will update. And I think you could also like mute a channel, and that would work too, or something like that. But anyway, you have to just kind of update it. So yeah, if you do that, it'll update. And now you see we got 5 channels that have things in them. And if we play it, it's the exact song that I made. So yeah, that works. It doesn't set the metronome or anything. I don't know. I think like, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's not though. Anyway, that's kind of it, I guess. And you can actually still like use it even after, like, I can add stuff. Actually, that's not going to be very easy because it starts immediately, but I don't know. You can add stuff to it if you have empty channels, or you can delete some, or you can change the instruments. So like, yeah, you can still do that and everything. You can do this. Anyway, you can do whatever you want. I could run it again, I guess, and say song, this doesn't matter, and set track number 2. And then it'll replace the same file because it was called the same thing. But if I go back into Minecraft, then you can see, well, if I do that again and then click that one, now as you can see, it's added it too. So that still works. And yeah, we're not very laggy. And And you see it still remembers the changes and everything. Like I changed this one, but I didn't change this one, so this one's still normal. Well, yeah, that's about it for how you can do that. And of course, all I did was just, I have these other MBS songs, and I did, actually, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I have these other NBS songs, and yeah, the note block songs, and I just did the exact same thing, but these are actually really long. These are like really long commands, because you can see how it's like numbers and stuff. Those are all like the notes it has to put, so it's got a lot of notes. But you notice, like, if I, yeah, there's that, but I still have this one. So yeah, you can still do that, and you can delete tracks, and now this one exists, and then this one's gone, but you can add another one. Oh wait, update it. Well, you don't have to update it, I guess, but you can, of course. Anyway, everything works normally even when you import stuff. I can show you one of the other commands here. Like this is Megalovania. Look how many numbers there are. It just stores all these. These are all the notes. It's like really long, but it's not too long. It actually can be too long, and it will warn you that it's longer than 32,500 characters, which is the limit for how many characters that you can put into command blocks. So you wouldn't be able to paste it in if it had too many notes in the song. It's right around 4,000, so you can have 4,000 notes and it's fine in your song. If I go into it, let me go into like this one. Okay, so this is Megalovania. Yeah, this one has 3,272 notes. You can see that at the bottom. It says that. But yeah, this is the song. So yeah, I'm actually using layer 17 a little bit, so that layer won't work. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, this is the song. There's also the Rickroll one. Oh wait, it's really quiet. And then of course this one. So yeah, these are the actual NBS songs, and they were converted into the, my piano track. So you can also import MIDI data into this. So there's a few things you can do. In File, you can actually directly import from MIDI. That imports from a MIDI file. You can do that, and it becomes a Noteblock's NBS file. And then you can just import that into my piano. So, and that's also good because the when the way it imports MIDI files, which actually this was imported from a MIDI file. I don't think it'll tell me. Oh yeah, it does. Anyway, the way it works is all the channels will, except for the percussion, but again, that one doesn't matter because it supports different percussions on the same layers, but it will always, separate the layers from different instruments, and then you won't have two instruments on the same layer or something like that, so, which is good. Yeah, that's what you want for when importing it into my piano track. So yeah, you can import into MIDI or from MIDI directly, or you can also use one of these. Yes, a real keyboard. So you can use one that has a MIDI out port, which is this. So I'm not really going to get into exactly how to do it, but you can connect this to the Noteblock software. So you can see as I play notes on this, it will change the keyboard. I don't know, it might be hard to tell, but you can also you can hit record. There's a record button, and then you can record notes, and it actually adds the notes you play. So yeah, you can. So yeah, that means I would always recommend setting the ticks per second to hold on, setting it to 20. Make sure you do that, because that'll get you more accuracy when you play your notes. Instead of only being 10 ticks per second, it'd be more inaccurate. So, well, yeah, anyway, so I guess I'll just play a song and see what it sounds like. So this is what I just recorded. You may have noticed I actually played 2 songs. Well, parts of 2 songs, I guess. But yeah, so you might think that like, oh, hey, look, there's these out of range notes, so they probably won't sound right. But actually, with some of the instrument, or I guess with the harp instrument, being out of range like this is actually okay. So as long as you leave the selected instrument on harp when you record, it works pretty well. You don't need to do anything. You can actually leave these out of range and it will automatically put the right notes in. So you can save this as a song, and now you can just run the Python file again, NBS file name. I called it MIDI. Analog tempo won't matter because it was already 20 ticks per second, and then set track number 1 successfully saved. So I take this. Yes, and it's not too big. Copy this. So then back in game, in Minecraft, I put this in. Hit the command block or hit the button, and then only 2. Yeah, okay. And then it starts playing the song that I just recorded on the real keyboard. So yeah, that worked. Yeah, you may have noticed it was automatically switching the instruments so that the notes were in the right octaves and everything. Yeah, of course, this is only 73 notes, but the real piano is, like a real keyboard, is like 88 notes. So there are, some notes that you could play, but they wouldn't be included here. But yeah, so, but I mean, all the notes I played were included because they were all in the range. So yep, it works. I guess I'll show you what happens if you put the analog tempo, where it will try to keep it accurate even though it might not sound all in time. So I'll just do that, and that's saved to the Rickroll. This one's really long, so I guess I won't change the one that's already there. But yeah, if I do this, so now it will play at the right tempo, but it probably won't sound perfect. So yeah, I don't know if you can really tell, but it's sometimes, I don't know, just kind of like, it almost sounds like it has like a swing or something, but there's like a little bit of it's not perfectly timed and everything. It sounds pretty good, but it's not perfect, so yeah. Anyway, I think I said this, but I'll have a download for that Python file. All you need to do is have it in a folder, and then the NBS song or the NoteBlock song files in the same folder, and then you can run it and give it the names of the songs without the .nbs extension, and then it'll generate the export txt file, and then yep, that's all it'll be. And then you can go look in that and then copy the command into a command block, and then once you run it, it'll set the track that you told it to set of the nearest piano within 10 blocks. Yeah, it'll set the track to the song. So yep, that's all there is. So yeah, I'll just play all the songs here. So I'll just do the outro first though. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Now I'm just going to play the songs. Hope you enjoyed.